Despite being a really good movie, one specific plot hole in The Dark Knight Rises makes it the worst of the Nolan Trilogy. That sounds worse than it is, as all of the movies are really good, and The Dark Knight was simply brilliant. Nevertheless, despite several plot holes existing in The Dark Knight Rises, the one that makes me continuously scratch my head centers on the fact that there was actually someone who held the trigger to the nuclear bomb.
And though I'm not ordinary, I'm a citizen.
I get the idea of having Talia explain the culmination of her plan to a surprised Bruce Wayne, but his expression of disbelief is probably more from wondering why she never triggered the bomb earlier. Talia knew Gordon and his team tracked the bomb, so why not detonate it once she knew there was a threat? Talia knew Bruce had returned to Gotham, and she knew he was Batman, so why not detonate it then? Why not detonate the bomb as Bane and Batman fought in the snow? After she had a knife in Bruce's side, why detonate it at all? Hell, there was only 11 minutes left, and Batman was immobilized. Why not savor the last 11 minutes of your victory? The answer cannot be because she wanted this face-to-face with Bruce. That clearly was not essential to her plan, nor was it expected. Bane had defeated Batman earlier, and both Bane and Talia seemed to assume that he would not return to Gotham. So they were both perfectly happy to let Talia's secret lineage remain secret. The only reason Talia never pressed the trigger is because the writers of The Dark Knight Rises wanted this face-to-face between herself and Batman. As good as the scene is, something needed to change. Face-to-face doesn't make sense if there's a detonator to the bomb, so take the detonator away as a plot device. The entire scene, as well as the 6 months that had passed after the bomb was activated, makes more sense without a detonator. Keep the trigger as an idea in the viewer's mind, as well as the people inside and outside of Gotham. But make Talia's plan require that everyone only needed to believe that the trigger existed to prevent them from leaving the city. Without there being a real detonator, we don't need to ask why she didn't set the bomb off, especially after Bruce had returned. Moreover, not much of this scene needed to change. Remove the detonator from her hand, take away this line,
And though I'm not ordinary, I'm a citizen.
and change the way the speech ended, and the problem is mostly solved.
You see, it's the slow knife.
The slow knife line still works without a detonator. The writers could have added a few more lines explaining that it was the people's fears that allowed them to be conquered, which would have tied the film even more to its predecessors. Ra's al Ghul wanted Gotham to tear itself apart through fear.
He thought our plan was to hold the city to ransom. But really, you are going to release Crane's poison on the entire city. Then watch Gotham tear itself apart through fear.
So did the Joker.
Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fear.
By using the trigger as a ruse, Talia would incorporate the same strategy her father wished to use, just in a slightly different way. Talia's plan would require that the people feared enough to not interfere as the bomb slowly ticked away, and Gotham became overrun with the criminals and the insane. This would have more clearly bridged the villains of all three films. As an aside, we also wouldn't need to be forced to watch this horrible scene with Gordon, as there's no way he would have survived this crash. Nope, not buying it. He'd be dead. And he can't be dead. He's needed so Bruce can reveal his identity through the line about the coat and the little boy. So Gordon needs to get to this point some other way. I'll get to this in just a moment. Before I do, if the only way to stop the bomb was to reattach it to the core, wouldn't Talia have flooded it after the bomb was activated 6 months ago? Of course she would have. So Lucius should have found the core already flooded. During their face-to-face, Talia could have told Bruce that there was no way to stop the bomb. While Talia explained her plan, this scene with Gordon would have been cut to. However, after stopping the wrong truck, Gordon would not have waved his team on to 5th Street. The movie would have cut back to Talia and Batman for the slow knife speech, just minus the trigger. Once Talia left to ensure the bomb was safe, and Selina killed Bane, Bruce would have been contacted by Gordon and told that Gordon's team failed to block the signal. Batman would tell Gordon that there was no trigger, and that Gordon should focus all his efforts on stopping the truck. Gordon would have driven until he found an unmanned Batmobile duplicate, maybe with dead mercenaries hanging from it. Gordon would have used it and taken off to help Bruce and Selina stop the truck carrying the bomb. Instead of the Bat flying all around the city with these impossible missiles tailing it, Bruce should have lost them in a less cartoonish way. Instead of him destroying this Batmobile duplicate with the heat-sinking missile, have Gordon do it, as he joins Selina and Bruce in the chase for the truck. All three of them would then force Talia's truck off the road, and they would have all met up here. Multiple problems solved. Even great scenes need to fit within the action of your story. Sometimes, as writers, we get too attached to our ideas. But don't let that attachment prevent you from altering the plot to benefit your story. In The Dark Knight Rises, using a real trigger as a plot device interfered with the objective of the villain's plan by making the 6 months of mayhem feel arbitrary and forced. Of course, it's often difficult to see where our stories break down. Even great storytellers like Christopher Nolan sometimes can't see, or they either ignore, inconsistencies in their manuscript. So don't seek perfection on your initial drafts, because that can lead to frustration, which will increase the chance that you never finish a single project. A story doesn't have to be spotless to be great, and even really good stories suffer from plot holes. Get your ideas out, and let the greatness of your story evolve from revisions. The more independent feedback you seek, the greater chance you have of finding inconsistencies within your story. The Dark Knight Rises was far from a perfect movie, but it was extremely enjoyable, and served as a fine capstone to the greatest superhero trilogy I've seen thus far.